You may call it something like sweaty equity. I call it financial suicide. Your free labor is actually the most expensive bottleneck in your entire business. And today I'm going to clear up some of the realities of this. I'm going to show you the exact math on why it's keeping you broke. The work that you for a long time have done manually and done by yourself in reality today is the bottleneck that is keeping your business stuck in the same place that it's been for a long time now. For a long time, growing up and coming from a blue collar family where my brother's an electrician, where my two other brothers are mechanics, and my father's a mechanic. When I come and think about the fact that since I was 16 years old, I was working in a mechanic shop for some time, and I think about the reality of all of this, all I knew, all my family knew, and all my family knows in reality is what I call sweat equity. That's all I knew. My dad swept the floors. My dad was always doing the calls manually. He's always ordering the parts for his shop. My dad was always having to diagnose cars, and at the same time being a mechanic, at the same time being a business owner. He was always doing the smaller stuff within his shop. He had to do everything that came with bookkeeping. He wore his exhaustion as a badge of honor. He wore his hard work and tiredness as a badge that he put on his chest, and that was something that he was worth being proud of. But what if I told you, and the harsh truth and the hard reality of that this exact thing is the thing that is keeping your business limited and is not passing the level that it needs to be able to pass? The market does not pay you for how tired you are. The market doesn't care how tired you are at the end of the day. People don't care how tired you are in the end of the day, at least not most people. It only pays you for the value you deliver. That's what the market gives you. The market cares how much you are going to give back to it, how much are you willing to offer, and how much can you offer to the market, and it will pay you accordingly, right? In the end of the day, how much work you put in, how much sweat you put in is irrelevant. If your product isn't good, if what you're doing isn't good, the market will never pay you, even if you put millions upon millions of hours. Of course, at some point, you would expect over millions of hours that you would refine a craft that could pay you, right? But in the end of the day, if that is not your case, if you are a business owner that has put sweat and tears into your business and you've been stuck in the same place, it is because of the fact that you are paying what I would call an ignorance tax. But not only that, more deeper than that, it is because of the fact that you haven't realized in many cases that your sweat and tears isn't going to make your business grow. Your sweat and tears can only take you so far because there are only so many hours in the day. But what will take you further is understanding what is it that I can do that can make my business grow further. So let's talk a little bit about that. Let's break this down a little bit. If you have $100,000 a year that your business is currently making, your time has a base value of about $50 an hour. Every time you spend an hour manually texting leads throughout the entire week, or doing data entry, or doing bookkeeping, or that you spend doing calls, every single time you spend an hour or just a few minutes, you are leaking a lot of money. You're leaking maybe 10, 15, 20, $50. If every time you spend just 30 minutes on a call, on doing 2, 3 calls, you are spending $25. You're leaking $25 in your business. You are literally losing dollars, tens and tens of dollars an hour. I know that doesn't sound a lot, but when you begin to accumulate this week after week after week, day after day after day, and one day that you leak, let's say $100 because you spent 2 hours doing something, and one day that you do that times 7, now we're not talking about $100, we're talking about $700. When you sit down and you look at those $700 and you multiply that by 4, now in a month we're talking about $2,800 leak, $2,800 that you are losing because of the fact that you are spending your time doing things that you could be doing automatically, but instead you're spending manual time doing. You are stealing from your own family to protect your ego, to protect your way of doing things, the sweaty, the manual, hard work, the drive. And while I think that is amazing, and I think grit is an amazing and important part to owning a business, I do, however, say, like I always say, grits will only take you so far. And at some point, you need to begin to grow and learn and understand more in order for you to earn more. So don't be the person that sits there expecting to make more money because of the fact that you put hard work, and begin to grow and begin to invest in something that can make you more. And I want to talk on this a little bit more because there's a level of me when it comes to hard work that is very existing. Again, coming from a blue collar family, hard work is just in my DNA for some reason. So if you feel guilty because you aren't getting work done 24/7 because you want to sacrifice sleep in order to be able to work more, if you feel guilty because instead of working, you're sitting down and spending time with your family, if that is your situation, like many times it is for me, a thing that I personally struggle with, understand something. Wealthy people don't grind on low level tasks. They buy back their time so they can focus exclusively on sales, strategy, fulfillment. You have to kill the employee that lives inside of you, and you need to begin to live like a CEO. You need to begin to act like a CEO. You need to begin to sit down and focus on the greater picture instead of the minuscule things that really don't necessarily need of your time. Of course, there is going to be situations that are different. I'm not saying that this is a one shoe fit all situations, but in the end of the day, in a general basis, you should be dedicating at least 90% of your time to what matters, to growth, to fulfillment, to strategy, instead of sitting down and focusing on things that are so small and minuscule that you could have a system do or that you have someone else do. In the end of the day, the hard work that you are putting in is ultimately the same thing that is holding you back from being able to grow to another level. Dedicate that hard work not into doing the minuscule things, but into the greater tasks. If you can do that, if you can sit down and master that, you'll begin to master what the greatest CEOs out there do. You think Elon Musk, you think all these great Steve Jobs, all these people were sitting down, dedicating time to the smaller things? No, they don't. These billionaires dedicate time and are extremely efficient in doing what they need to do in order to grow further. And what they need to do is dedicating time on strategy, fulfillment, and where the company is going instead of focusing on the next social media post. So sit down and begin to think about these things. And although, yes, there is levels of it that you need to take care of yourself, maybe social media is one of those things. That was just an example. But obviously, when you're in a bigger company, you can just hire someone to do that, right? Again, focusing on what matters is what will ultimately lead to your growth. Again, there's going to be levels and stages to your business, and then sometimes you're going to need to dedicate time to the smaller things until you grow to a level where you can hire people, where you can buy a system. But if you are at that level, that you're making 100K, 200, 300K in your business, you are at a level where you can begin to invest more into what you can dedicate time to in order for you to remove things you invest and have more time for what matters most. Again, I know I mentioned the reality of making 100K, 200, 300K in your business, and being able to now invest into getting an employee, or to be able to invest in different ways for you to have more time for yourself. But that isn't the only way that you could invest and have time for yourself. It's not just only about an employee. You think buying back your time means hiring someone that you have to pay $60,000 a year, or someone that you have to pay $40,000 a year, which you can't even afford. You don't need a human in all cases. Sometimes you need a machine. And matter of fact, I would argue in all cases you need a machine. All major businesses and all small businesses should have some type of system and software to be able to help them do things that they have to do manually and make their life easier. They're called CRMs, they're called SaaS systems. All these type of systems are systems that will help you save time and be able to dedicate more time on what matters. Exactly what I've been talking about this whole time. An automation software acts as an employee that works 24/7 for you and never calls out sick, and does all the 10-hour tasks instantly, so you can get back to doing the $1,000 hour job work that you need to do as a CEO. Your time is worth money. Don't think about your time as simply something that you could dedicate and cover the gaps that you need to cover. Let a system cover the gaps for you, and that way you can now have time for what matters. If I could go back and I could think about all the things I have done throughout my process as starting this business, the best thing that I've done is have software that has helped me quicken and make my work so much faster or easier or just automatically done for me instead of me having to sit down and put hours and hours and hours of work. If I weren't able to do this, I wouldn't have been able to grow at the level that I have been able to grow. Now having systems in place for other businesses and being able to grow and having to understand when to pivot and having to dedicate time to social media and all these things, I wouldn't have time for this if it wasn't for the fact that I had systems that have helped me be able to be consistent, help me dedicate time to the things that right now I need to dedicate time to. If you are ready to fire yourself from leaking all that money that you're leaking at an hourly rate of whatever your hourly rate is, if you are ready to begin to stop the leak that is going on in your business because of you dedicating time to manual work that you can automate, to you dedicating time to things that you don't need to dedicate time to, if you are ready to stop picking up the phone urgently because you have to pick it up, otherwise if you miss the call then you lose that lead. If you're ready to have a system that could do these things automatically for you, install a system that automates your lead capture and follow-up, click the link below. Let's build your machine for you to be able to grow your business that much more. Don't forget to subscribe, to follow me, or to give a like or comment. And again, if you want more information or would like a free trial of a system like this, you could contact me through santosfinancialstrategy.com, and I'll sit down and speak to you for a certain amount of time, for about 30 minutes, completely free, and set up the system for you completely free. Don't forget that your path to freedom is here, it's now, and it is in your hands.